Welcome everyone to the Pascack Valley Regional High School District Board of Education special board meeting this Thursday evening, May 13th, 2021. During the meeting, there will be an opportunity for members of the public to be able to provide comments, and we'll discuss that as soon as that time comes. So right now we are going to do roll call.
Mr. Blundo. Here. Dr. Blundy. Dr. Blundy? Can
you hear me?
Oh,
got it.
yep.
Thank you. Mr. Fronte?
Here.
Mrs. Martin? Ms. Molinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Here.
Ms. Steffens?
Here.
Mrs. Varghese?
Here.
Mr. Weaver? Okay.
Oh, very good. Please join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would now ask for a motion to enter into executive session to discuss a personnel matter.
So moved.
All right, second.
Okay, very good. By acclamation, we are in executive session. We will be coming back for a public meeting at 7:30. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Pascack Valley Regional School Board District Board of Education School Board meeting. Public announcement. Both adequate and electronic notice of this meeting has been provided, specifying the time, place, and manner in which such notice was provided, and by mailing copies of said notice to the record, filing copies of said notice with the municipal clerks of Hillsdale, Montvale, Rivervale, and Woodcliff Lake, and publishing said notice in the record on May 29th, 2020, October 23rd, 2020. In accordance with policy 0162, this meeting is called for an urgent, unforeseen matter without adequate notice. There are two opportunities for the public to make comments when the meeting is held in hybrid or remote manner. The two methods are via Zoom or by phone call. At that time, please state your name, town of residence, and you may have 5 minutes to make a comment.
There she is.
Before we actually begin the meeting, I wanted to share some comments. Just a moment. We are meeting today to be able to discuss the issue of merging cohorts. With that being said, there seems to be a lot of misunderstanding, both within the community and with the faculty. And what I wanted to share was that this board takes decisions very seriously. And when Governor Murphy made the decision to decrease the space for students, the Board of Education mindfully went into gathering information. The information that we needed to know were things like busing schedules, lunch schedules, the logistics of getting the furniture in, administrative support, whether we could get all the teachers in, whether the nurses would be prepared, whether the faculty had the opportunity to fully staff a merged cohort. We took into consideration very seriously contact tracing and what it would mean to take kids from 6 feet to 3 feet, and what the impact of that would be on things like testing, on proms, on graduation. We took into consideration a question that we asked parents. The question was, if in fact cohorts were merged, how would your child participate? And we have the responses to that survey. So I apologize for any miscommunication that there was, because this Board of Education takes these decisions very seriously, and we were very mindful of gathering this information. I know there was a little confusion, but we're here today to be able to discuss this topic after significant research gathering, after the reopening committee met, I believe it was yesterday, And they went through all of the logistics. They've been looking at this issue since September, when the majority of our students in Valley, 63%, and I think 48 to 51% of Hills have been in hybrid situations in front of their teachers with their peers since last September. Numbers that are significant within our area. So as I said before, our intent was to gather information so that as board members, when we take an oath of office, we do so on behalf of the entire student body, of the 2,000 students, the 4,000 parents, the 300 plus faculty, and the community at large. I would also like to recognize the passion with which parents are advocating for their children to be able to embrace their senior year. It's been a very difficult, challenging year. And so we want to say to those parents that we understand your perspective and your point of view. And we're here tonight to be able to gather information, to be able to look at all the information we've gathered and to have a discussion about that. So with that being said, what I'd like to do is open up comments from the public. And yes, we're taking them in the order with which they are received.
Okay, I have Donna.
Donna?
She muted?
Okay, hold on, Donna. Are you muted?
She left.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Maybe she's going to try again.
Come back if, yeah, I have audio.
Okay.
I don't have anybody else.
Motion to close.
Okay, so what we will do is we will move on to a discussion regarding the possible merging of cohorts. And so all of my colleagues have gotten detailed information from multiple sources regarding the issues that I had mentioned earlier. And this is our opportunity to be able to talk about our perspective.
So,
Mr. Blendo?
Yeah, I'm comfortable going first.
Mm-hmm.
I said some of these comments the other night, but I'll repeat some of them. About a month or two ago, in meeting with Eric and Tammy, we talked about what would happen if the governor woke up one morning and said, you can all come back to school. At that point, my feeling was, I'm going to give you a little bit of a long-winded answer, I'm sorry, but my feeling was it probably wouldn't be worth it, because with only a few weeks left, even at that point, by the time logistically we set it up, my gut said it wasn't worth it. My opinion changed, and I'm not kidding about this, but as the words were coming out of Governor Murphy's mouth, my phone was blowing up with parents that said, when are we getting back in school? So in my mind, we had to look at this, because I've seen people on both sides of the issue combine or separate very passionately with very, very reasonable positions on both sides. However, looking at the feedback we got from the reopening committee, and looking at the numbers of people that responded to the form, it was not a survey, and if we have questions on that later, Eric can explain that. It became evident to me that if everybody came back that said they're going to come back, specifically in Pascack Valley, we would have a tremendous amount of students here. And as a result, while I think we could pull it off, I think it would be a very high risk in terms of exposure. If one person brings the virus into school, it could really disturb proms, sports, tournaments, other graduation. And as much as I understand and empathize with the people who want to come back 5 days a week, my position, and I'll listen to all of you because I could change, you could convince me otherwise, but my position is that we should keep the status quo until through the year, and all guns ablazing to open in September fully. Again, I will keep an open mind and listen to everybody's comments, but those are mine. And those are the reasons that I think we should move forward. And I'm just going to repeat that we had to have this conversation. because there were enough people that made a lot of great points about combining. And if we didn't look at it, we wouldn't be doing our job. I'll be quiet now.
Thank you. Who's next?
Well, I'd like to say that
Is
I
your mic
agree.
on?
Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I've been on the reopening committee since last year, and we have done a fantastic job in keeping our schools going. And I feel that, you know, we've been proactive in every way possible. And having attended the committee meeting again yesterday, listening to all the stakeholders, it became very apparent that there are still what-if scenarios out there that may put students at risk. Okay, now the risk level is going down. Everybody realizes that, but you know, as a community, we have to reach out and we have to ensure that we care for everyone and the safety of everyone and the well-being of everyone. And yes, I understand students want to be back in school and everything else. And our school, our community, our guidance department, our nurses, our administration, our teachers, we're all there for you. They're all there. And so it's a community. If you need to reach out, you reach out to them. They've been there all year. And, you know, I think it's a sure thing just to keep going as we're going now. Why would we want to disturb this at this point? We want a nice graduation. We want a nice prom. These are the things that students are looking forward to. I wouldn't want to risk that.
Thank you. Kelly?
Nope, can't hear you yet.
How about now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Hi, everybody. It's my first time doing this remote, so bear with me. So I've said this multiple times, my thoughts on this and how important the mental aspect of these children getting back in school is. And I wanted to take the opportunity to be a part of the committee, the reopening committee meeting. So I took some notes that I would like to review with all of you guys. I do want to say that I do feel that we should have probably addressed this a while ago, and maybe we wouldn't be in this situation so close to graduation, but it is what it is. So I did want to share a few things. So I'm just going to read here a little bit. So a couple things I learned a lot, and I really thanked everyone for being on that call because it was very educational. So it's important to note that merging cohorts does not mean that they are going back full time to a normal schedule. I know there was some confusion there, but it just means that we will continue the 5 periods in person and then they go home for lunch. It's not like we're opening it up the entire day, going back to a normal schedule. Every group was asked what they'd like to do, and here were some of the following results. So the first thing is the students were asked, 2 students were on the call. Both initially stated that they wanted to merge cohorts and would like to be back 5 days a week. However, one student did change her mind at the end after listening to everyone's concerns. Parents were the same thing. The parent that was on the call, understandably, wants her kid back 5 days a week. However, she also changed her opinion by the end of the call due to missing end-of-year activities, because that's where we're at now, because if somebody tests positive, it's a larger number of kids, can't go to prom, can't go to graduation, and I can't imagine how that phone call will go. Medical staff, Dr. Meyer wasn't present, but had basically said, whether it's now or whether it's in September, kids are going to have to go back. The nurses, this is what I feel the most for, because the nurses are, they have such a large task and they're doing such an incredible job. So it's important to know, and it's really frustrating that we're given a set of rules that other businesses and other organizations are not. So that makes it very difficult. So if the students came back, they would have to be 3 feet apart. However, you would still have to contact trace and quarantine 6 feet apart. So that is a larger number of kids that would not be able to participate in the end of year activities. And it's, I feel for them, because it's not us, it's not the Board of Education, it's not Pascack Valley making these rules. They're following the Department of Health, and I would say that confusing is one of the many words I would use to describe that. The teachers and the faculty seemed pretty divided on it. I believe every teacher wants to be back in. I think it was really over the logistics of fitting all the kids in the classroom at 3 feet apart. Sorry. What to do with some of the hands-on classes, band, things like that. Athletics was a concern. So I just wanted to share a quick version of a long meeting of what was all the things that were discussed, and given how close we are to the end. So I mean, I want nothing more than having these kids back in, but listening to all the different rules that we have to follow, it definitely made me ponder a few things a little bit. So I just wanted to share some of that with all of you.
Thank you, Kelly. Anyone else like to share their thoughts on this topic? Jenny?
So I agree with everything you said, Kelly. I think when you look at it from an outside standpoint, you sort of just think that, all right, we're just getting the kids together. Oh, they're allowed to be 3 feet now. But I think the time that we are in right now is very important. I do agree that for kids' mental health, it is good for them to be in school every day. But at the same time, what does it do to a child's mental health when they can't go to the prom that they were supposed to go to, or they can't graduate, or they can't see, or grandma can't come see them graduate because of an exposure? And so I think at this point, we're sort of at this place where if it's not broke, maybe we shouldn't try to fix it. That being said, I think the other thing people have to remember is that the nurses, like Kelly, just like you said, the nurses have a really difficult job at this point. If we're talking about 3 feet, whereas before it was 6 feet, now we're talking about kids are within 3 feet, but you still have to sort of throw the net around kids that are 6 feet apart. And so they have a lot more kids that they have to call. And I have to say that I think that it's unfair to them at this point to say, look, this is what we're asking you to do, because it's not an easy thing. It's a moving target, like I said last time, that things change all the time. You can go from one day having no one that has symptoms or needs to be quarantined to a lot of kids having to be quarantined. And so it puts a real burden on them that I think we all need to think about. There was the question of vaccinations, and well, if kids are vaccinated, can they come back? That's unfortunately a slippery slope to walk down, because then you sort of it's sort of like putting a sticker on a child that sort of says, oh, well, you're vaccinated. Hey, how come you're here? Oh, I'm vaccinated. Oh, it can be perceived, unfortunately, in a way, depending on what each family feels, which they're totally entitled to feel. I feel like it sort of can create these sort of like a social sort of issue where, you're getting vaccinated. Why'd you get vaccinated? Or, you're not getting vaccinated. So, and then also it puts a child's privacy at risk, whether they decide they want to do something or not do something. So if we say, oh, let the kids come back that are vaccinated, I think, unfortunately, it becomes a slippery slope, because then the nurses have to know that they're vaccinated. Okay, fine. But then each teacher has to know also that each child is vaccinated. And I think it's just a lot more thought and legwork than it's worth for the next few weeks. But again, like I said last time, I hope that if any parent listening to this has a child who is truly struggling, that you please, please, please reach out to administration at the particular school, to the wellness center, to the counselors, and have your child talk to the counselors and say, listen, I need to be in school every day. Or you as a parent advocate for them, because that's something that is doable and that I think we can all agree we really don't want even one child to be that miserable that way. So if there is that issue, please, whichever way we vote today, please reach out to administration and say, look, this is what my child is dealing with.
Thank you, Jenny. Anyone else have something that they'd like to share?
So I have a few questions.
Sure.
Can everybody hear me? Am I?
Yep.
Okay. So I wasn't sure from an administrative standpoint if we were going to hear from them and what their recommendations are. And I know Ginny had just referenced the vote, and I know Tammy and Joe, we had some conversation, and I wasn't yet clear on what the board's role was in this process, whether it is something we vote on or whether it is something that the superintendent makes his recommendation and that's what we move forward with. So can you just clarify that piece?
Sure, I can clarify the information that I sent via text earlier today to both you and Mr. Blendo. This particular issue is not one that needs a formal resolution. So if it doesn't need a formal resolution, it doesn't need formal action by the Board of Education. Traditionally speaking, the administration, the superintendent, chooses, because they are the ones who are in the day-to-day relationship with the students, what the schedule of the school is. Is that your understanding?
That's correct.
But so this is not something we will be voting on this evening.
Well,
the only thing we would be voting on this evening is if we would choose as a board to basically override the superintendent's decision-making ability to merge the cohorts. If we choose as a board to do nothing, there's no formal vote that needs to take place tonight.
Right. So said another way, because I'm slow. If we do nothing, things stay the same. If we choose, and I'm saying exactly what you said, if we choose to disagree with the superintendent, somebody would make a motion. If there was a second, then there would be a vote. So if there's anyone that feels strongly enough to combine the cohorts, that's the way that we would send the message to the administration that we want that done. Is that correct? Yes? Yes.
So I guess, can I take two steps back? Because maybe it would help to hear from administration on where we stand and what their position is, and then be able to offer any other feedback. I wasn't sure if that was going to be part of the process or conversation tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric?
Sure. So the position of the administration, position of me as the superintendent, is to follow the recommendations of the Restart and Reopening Committee. And the minutes that I received from Dr. Backenheimer, who had, as was reported out previously by those who attended, is that there is a legitimate concern for quarantine risk. As I said at the last meeting, this building is safe for students to come back to. In fact, we believe it's safe for students to be seated 3 feet away from each other in this building. The concern that we have is the quarantine risk, because we still have the recommendations from the New Jersey Department of Health, which states that if students are closer than 6 feet for more than 15 minutes to a person who tests COVID positive, those individuals, if they're not vaccinated, have to quarantine for a minimum of 10 days. And that's our concern. Our concern is having to close the contact trace now, where for months we have not had to close the contact trace because everyone in this building is 6 feet apart or further. The concern about having students closer is that if we get one COVID positive case, we may have to close the building for contact tracing for a day, lose a day of instruction. In a face-to-face modality, of course, we would shift to remote. But then there would be potentially potentially dozens of students that would need to quarantine, which would impact athletic programs, impact spring concerts, which I know that we are eager to bring back right now. I think Pascack Hills has its spring concert on Monday night. It could impact senior class trip, the proms, and of course, as Mr. Stankus said before, also graduation. Those are major life events, in particular for our seniors, as well as the juniors, and some of the athletic events and concerts for our other students as well. So as an administrative team and a restart and reopening team, there's concern that if we bring all students back 5 days a week, that some of those really lifetime events could potentially be at risk for not taking place. And that's one of the reasons why we believe at this point of the year, with such few days left, the benefits of having students all back, seeing each other face to face every single day, those benefits don't outweigh the potential risks.
Can I ask a question? Do we know the other schools around us, what they are experiencing? Because I know some are going back to 3 feet.
Sure.
Okay.
And so, of course, some of the high schools, as we've discussed previously, have much lower in-person rates for students in their hybrid A-B cohort models than we do. Particularly at Pascack Valley, we have a very high number of students. So in a number of those school districts, when they merge the cohorts, they're still not nearly at the level where we are with students, and so they're able to maintain spacing. I did reach out specifically to our K-8 sending districts, and they have had no issues since they've whether merged or expanded the day. And of course, they were all very quick to say knock on wood, because they all know that there are potential risks. And in the discussions that I've had with our administrative team, we keep going back to, yeah, most likely, hopefully, no one would come to the buildings COVID positive. But what if? And then we have to deliver the news to whatever organizations or classes of students that they can't have that big life event that they're looking forward to. So there's a risk. And everything might be perfectly fine, but we don't know for certain.
Any questions?
Yeah, and I spoke with Eric about this the other day, but what was their consideration? Oh, I'm sure I'm loud enough. So was there consideration to bringing back 9th and 10th grade only?
Yes, there was consideration for bringing 9th and 10th grade back only. But unfortunately, not unfortunately, the great thing about a high school is that you have all different grade levels merging together in classrooms. So you may have classes where they're 9th graders as well as 10th graders. So if any of those larger classes where students are seated closer than 6 feet apart, if anybody turns up COVID positive, we have to close for contact tracing. And again, there can be some implications there, even just for a day, for the athletic events in the afternoon or evening, as well as if there are students, juniors, for example, that would have to quarantine. And if it was too close to junior prom, that would cut kids out of being able to attend the junior prom. There's no one that wants students back more than our team of administrators and staff members. We're desperate to have students back in our buildings. One of the things we're really looking forward to that was supposed to be the focus of the Restart and Reopening Committee yesterday, but now they're going to be meeting in 2 weeks, was preparing for the reopening of school, the full normal schedule, if you will, 8 to 3 of having students back in the building every day and working out the details of that. We're looking forward to that. We're preparing for that, and we can't wait.
Are there board
So
members
if I
who
could
have?
jump back in, would that be all right?
Yep, of course.
So I appreciate the information that Dr. Gunderson shared and the recommendation. I will say that I support the recommendations from the Restart Committee. I support the recommendation from the nurses. I support the recommendation from administration. I think what also became clear to me over these past 48 hours and speaking with members of the community is that there was some misunderstanding on what the guidelines were should they choose to send their children back. And when parents realize that their children could be at risk of not being able to participate, I don't think that was abundantly clear to them. And so I did hear from many that they would then backtrack on sending their child back, which would skew the numbers. To Kelly's point, is this something we could have looked at earlier? Possibly. Hindsight's 20/20 at this point. We know information changes every day. Maybe lesson learned for the future. I support what both Kelly and Ginny have said, that if there are parents who feel that their child are struggling academically, socially, emotionally, that please reach out to administration and your child's guidance counselors and have those conversations with them to see what can be done to provide the necessary supports. I think one thing that I deal with daily in my communications with families is just because the CDC says something today doesn't mean the state guidelines change today. And so we hear things on the news, we see Dr. Fauci on the news networks, but that doesn't mean things have necessarily changed for New Jersey. And those updates typically come out days, if not weeks after those recommendations are made by the time they filter out to the states. So based on the feedback I've heard from the community, the numbers that I've seen, I'm looking forward to our students having a happy end to a difficult year. And hopefully those celebrations go a long way in creating positive memories for the 2021 senior class.
Great. That was said very well, Mike. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
I just want to say one more thing.
Sure.
I really just want to applaud this board because I really think that, we were approached, and don't think we're not listening. Parents that are listening to us right now, we are listening to you. We're taking it all in, and we're doing our due diligence. We did a lot of research over the course, and I'm echoing a lot of what Tammy said in the beginning, but a lot of, like most of us have already said, we took a lot of information over the course of the last few days, and we've all had an opportunity to digest it. And I think that most parents will agree that, at this point, it is very difficult decision to make. If this is a difficult decision by all means. I think what we're looking at is about 10 days over, 10 days is what we're really looking at if we were to move everybody back to school. Yep. And is it really worth it when these guidelines are in place and you could risk quarantining 40 to 50 people at one time for one incident of COVID? And again, listening to all that reopening committee, I wasn't on it, but I read all the notes. We're looking at a lot more people in the classroom. It's just not worth it, I think, at this time.
Okay, so now is the time where we would enter into comments from the public, formally leaving old business, where if a motion was to be made, it would preferably be made in that part of our agenda. Okay, so we will be moving into comments from the public. When you call in, kindly state your name and the town of residence. You have 5 minutes to be able to provide your comments to the board.
I have a phone number ending in 6502.
So if your number ends in, great. Your name and town of residence, please.
Yeah, hi, this is Karen Bade. I'm in Hillsdale, and my daughter is a 11th grader at Pascack Valley. So I've heard all the, I've heard your comments. I'm just here to say that I disagree. I think the kids should absolutely go back to school. I think the fact that it is such a short period of time is actually to our benefit. It seems to me that the priority is talking about graduation and prom. You know, the priority should be the quality of education. And the way to quality education is getting these children back in school 5 days a week. If parents are concerned about, you know, well, if there's an exposure and my child will miss any particular event, then those parents have the right to, or the opportunity to say, you know what, my child will just stay remote then. But I think, you know, I'm of the opinion that it's irresponsible to not have these kids go back to school. The infection rate in Bergen County is extremely low. New Jersey is has the lowest infection rate in the nation. And we should be taking opportunity, and we should absolutely get our children back to school. And again, the priority should not be the, you know, all the end parties and the graduations. Like, obviously those are important, but the most important thing is the quality of our education and our kids. And, you know, you were saying, like, you know, the schools have been doing a great job. Well, you know, Pascack Valley was closed more than it was open for the first 5 months. And, you know, I just feel, you know, I feel very strongly that you guys need to make the decision to benefit all the kids, not just those kids that are going to be graduating. You know, you have, like you said, you've got ninth graders, 10th graders, 11th graders. You know, at the very least, let these kids go back to school.
Thank you for calling. Appreciate your thoughts.
We got Kathleen drops out.
O'Hay. It's Kathleen O'Hay. I'm from Hillsdale, New Jersey. And I listened to on Monday night's board meeting, and I'm listening to tonight. And I have to tell you, as a frontline healthcare provider who's been working with COVID patients nonstop in a hospital setting, I think the fear mongering that I heard on Monday night about COVID and possible variants, we have conquered this. New Jersey did a great job. Our COVID rates in the hospital, 13 hospitals are associated with where I work, are under 200 inpatients, which is huge. Our kids need to go back to school. The prom, yes, that's a life event. And so is, you know, junior prom and chorus. But that is not why we send our kids to school. We send our kids to school to learn. And to learn in classroom is invaluable. I've learned this year as a healthcare provider who's had to go to work and leave 2 high school students home. It was a nightmare for them and me. For them, because they feel like when they go to college, they might not have to take over a calculus class because they don't feel that they have learned like they would have in a classroom setting. So when I hear the fear mongering about what if or what or maybe, we had a fashion show the other night. Why isn't the school closed for that? COVID could have spread there. I mean, we have to be realistic. Trust the science, encourage vaccination, and get back to school. Even if it's for 10 days, it is invaluable to these kids to get back to normalcy.
Okay, thank you for your call. I see we have individuals in the public here that are here tonight. If you'd like to speak, just let us know and we'll be happy to invite you to the podium for any comments. Okay. Yes.
Kimberly Cuff.
Kimberly?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we certainly can. Go ahead.
I just wanted, on Monday night, I think you heard my question. I said, what about the students that are vaccinated? You know, can they come into the school 5 days a week? I reached out to the superintendent this week about that, and he had said he had spoke to his administrative team and that they were trying to determine a process where they could keep track of the students that were vaccinated and allow them back into the school 5 days a week. And I was proactive and I sent in my twins' vaccination cards, and I had heard that a lot of parents had done that. But now I'm hearing tonight, it sounds like you're not going to let them come back in 5 days a week if they're fully vaccinated, because they cannot be quarantined. And these seniors, they started last March, they missed their junior prom, they've missed so many things, so many sports seasons, and all they want to do is come back to school, even if it's the last 4 weeks of school, and be with their class. And they can't be quarantined, so they can still go to prom and graduation. So I would like to know what your stance is on that now.
Yeah, so the stance is that individuals who are vaccinated have the opportunity to come back to school 5 days a week. Dr. Gunderson, would you like to elaborate on that?
Sure.
Yes, I was just going off of what Mrs. Vargas was saying, that there's privacy issues, and she seemed to be saying that the kids could not come back in 5 days a week. So maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah, no problem. Look, this is a complicated issue, and all of the board members have their own opinions on it, which makes our 9-member board a really healthy board. We share different ideas. However, that being said, I'll have Dr. Gunderson explain the administration's position and his conversations with the principals of both schools.
Thank you.
Yeah, so logistically, we are able to welcome vaccinated students back 5 days per week, and you should be receiving a correspondence from the district, not just you. Senior parents should be receiving a correspondence from the district in the next few days once we work out the logistics for keeping track of those individuals.
I would also like to say, for parents who have seniors who choose not to have their student come back full-time, that is a choice that we are, of course, allowing every parent to do. It's an option. In this particular case, with seniors who are vaccinated, there is that option as well.
Are you able to hear me?
That's Sandy Parks.
Yes. Hi, thank you. My name is Sandy Parks, as you said. I am a parent of a senior at Hills. Thank you, Mr. Gunderson, by the way, for your prompt response the other night. So I happen to agree with everything that everyone's saying, and I'm not playing Switzerland here. Education for 16 months, I've been saying, should be prioritized above all the other stuff that's been opened in this state and so forth, but it wasn't. So Kelly Bundy, great call out. Would have been nice to be talking about this a couple of months ago, but coulda, woulda, shoulda. But now here we are. And no, I'm not prioritizing a prom or a graduation over education. Anyone who knows me in my life knows I would never do that. However, my daughter and all of her friends have missed everything for 16 months, including just hanging out with one another. They are so beyond excited, buying their prom dresses, doing everything. And I'm sorry, as much as I would love her to be in 5 days a week, 6.5, 7 hours a day, at the end of the day, that's not what's going to happen. And with the extra 10 days, I just don't see the value. I really don't. These kids are heading off to college. And you know what? I feel so sorry still for the 2020 class who got none of this. Let's not repeat our mistakes is kind of how I'm feeling. So yes, this would have been great if we could have been doing this all a couple of months ago. And I'm not talking to this school district has been beautiful to me and my family. My daughter is getting her second vaccination next week, so she would never meet the criteria for not having to quarantine. I don't know where everybody else's children are, and that's personal, and I respect that. And as somebody who's working in an organization that's trying to figure out an opening from a task force perspective, I lead an HR team, there are no easy answers. But let's not make a decision just to say we did it, rather than taking into the mental health effects are going to be there for kids from kindergarten to college seniors for years to come, including us adults, by the way, just saying. But let's not compound it, is kind of what I'm saying. So I appreciate being heard. I thank you all for everything you did for us. It's a wonderful school district. And if you need anything from me, I'm always here. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. We appreciate it.
Allison Gu.
Allison?
Yes. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Allison.
Yeah. I'm Allison. I'm living in Montville. I'm a mom of a junior at Hills. So I have a question because like we all received the form from school, right? To make the choice, which I believe all the families responded. So can you guys share with us like what was the result from all the forms received from the parents? That's one thing. Another thing I want to express my opinion is, since we give the family the option either to keep these students at home 5 days or 5 days a week, or send the students to school 5 days a week. So I know everything when we make a choice, there's always pros, cons, and the risk associated with that. So if, like in my case, I feel comfortable sending my son to the school. So I think the school district should give us the option to let the kids back to school. Like, okay, yeah, you guys saying, I hear all you saying, and it makes sense. It's almost end of the school year. It's only like 10 days or 15 days of school days. But when we go to the fall in September, we're gonna face the same situation again. We're gonna make the decision again. And at that time, all the decision we make also associated with risk. So I don't think make decision now is any different making decision done in the fall. So we give parents, students the option to make a choice. So we should keep that option open. Otherwise, there's no meaning to send out the form, ask parent to, to respond. Then by the end of the day, okay, sorry, we're gonna not give you the option.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I will ask Dr. Gunderson to go over the survey. Actually, it wasn't a survey. What it was is a question. If the Board of Education chose to combine the cohorts, the question was, how would your child participate in their education? So, Dr. Gunderson, do you want to go over the results?
Yeah, sure. And there are some key differences between having students come back now and in the fall. We are hopeful, we don't know this for sure, but we are hopeful that the quarantining rules might change a little bit by that time as well. And again, that's one of the driving factors that cause concern for us, as I mentioned before, those lifetime big events that students have been looking forward to, and they've missed out on so many other types of events. That was really one of the biggest issues that we were dealing with when we were weighing the benefits versus the risks. So we hope that things do change a little bit in the fall. So the form that was asked for parents to complete was so that our administration could prepare for bringing furniture and establishing and seeing if we needed additional buses to transport students to and from school. We needed to work on these logistics as soon as possible if we were going to implement this on Monday. In fact, the members that are in this room right now can look down to our lower cafeteria and see about a third of the furniture that would have been coming back to Pascack Valley High School, because we had to mobilize starting Tuesday to get ready for Monday. So this form was meant to provide our building administration with how many students and specifically what students would be coming back if the board decided to merge the cohorts. And so at Pascack Hills, there would have been a total of 553 students who would have been coming to school every single day. And at Pascack Valley High School, we would have had 821 students coming to school every single day. About twice the number of students that come to school on any given day currently right now. And there was some movement back and forth based on the different risk factors that parents were considering. Pascack Hills would have had an additional 19 students attending in person if we had merged the cohorts. And Pascack Valley would have had an additional 42 students attending in person compared to the number of students who attend in person currently. So some minor changes, but those are essentially the results of that form. And again, that form was used so that our building administration could plan for the students coming back, the bus routes, the furniture, and also establishing overflow classrooms for classrooms that would have not been able to handle 3 feet distancing.
Eric, I wanna just, you led with the pure numbers, and then you came back and said 42 and 19, and I think that can be confusing. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it only confused me. So it's not just 42 extra students at Pascack Valley. It's the combining of the cohorts plus 42, which brought you to the 800.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you explained that, but
Would you like me to share the screen?
if that's what you want to do.
I think your executive summary is correct. I don't know that we will go into the details of all of it. The fact of the matter is there's going to be significantly more kids in the school in a much smaller space, which just increases the risk.
Right. Absolutely.
So to just, if I could just reinforce one point.
Sure.
To kind of just, it piggybacks on Joe's comment a little bit. And I've heard parents say, and I feel the same way as a parent of 4 at the elementary and middle school level, what is our ultimate goal, and decision-making should be driven by the goal. The goal is to get students into the building to the greatest extent possible. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we did have a number of parents who did not respond to the survey, correct?
115 parents did not respond.
So that was one factor. Another factor that I considered, along with all the information that we were given, is that if the ultimate goal is to get the greatest, to maximize instruction, based on my conversations with parents and feedback that I've gotten, and I ultimately believe that we would have had more students opting out of school as we got closer to some events, and we would have been reaching fewer students than we are now currently in person. And I think that was an important factor for me in, supporting the administration's decision. While now it may look like more, I think ultimately we would have seen less, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, I follow you.
Okay. Yes?
Have Kathy Vangelder?
Kathy?
Oh, yes. Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is
Good.
Kathy Vangelder. I'm from Montvale. So I am one of the chairs who hosted the Pascack Hills Fashion Show the other night, where the seniors had a fabulous time. My concern was that until we get to a classroom setting where both and all parties are appropriately masked, and that close contacts should not be required to quarantine. They can be informed of their option to quarantine if they felt necessary, but they're not required. That we can't let our seniors come back, and we can't let the whole school come back. We have freshmen, sophomores, and juniors who didn't even qualify to get vaccinated yet. Now the 16-year-olds may. We have seniors who are still waiting upon their second dose, and they will not be out of quarantine the time frame. So we based the fashion show. Hills and Valley were the same nights. The kids had a wonderful time. The normalcy was beyond. They were masked till they got up to the stage, then they had to put their mask back on. We did everything appropriately. We tried to follow every rule. We feel so badly for the classes that are coming up, but we mostly feel bad for the seniors. It is really hard. And to say out loud that, as far as you're concerned, that mental health aspect, the people called in, doesn't matter to our seniors, it does. It matters a great deal. They can't even say goodbye to their school. They are not even in the same cohorts as their best friends since they've been 5 years old. They haven't gone to lunch together. They haven't sat in a cafeteria, haven't been in a classroom together. They haven't watched their best friend play on a football field because they weren't allowed to be there. So I get the educational aspect, but they're going to get 8 or 9 additional days, the underclassmen, to attend school. I don't think it's fair. It really isn't. I thank you all for taking all of them into consideration. I really do. I'm hoping that for September, the goal will be to have them in a setting where they can be masked, everybody's appropriately masked, there's no quarantining any longer, and everyone's in a safe environment. We'll be on our way to college. I thank you for taking time for listening to me, and we really appreciate you supporting us.
Thank you for calling.
David Steinberg?
David?
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can.
Can you? Okay. Hope everybody's doing well. Hey, just wanted to just make a couple comments here. I've been listening, and I did miss the first 5 minutes of this meeting. I got bounced off, but in any event, obviously it's a very tough decision you guys have, and I always look at it, risk versus reward, and at this time of the year, where really it's typically when the school year's over, kids check out. Once the AP exams hit, it's kind of winding down or so, and to have seniors go back to see friends. I walk around the neighborhood, I see plenty of kids from middle school, from Dorchester, by the way, I'm from Woodcliff Lake, even high school kids. Friends are friends. If they're not seeing each other in school, they're seeing each other out of school. The thing that I'm proud of about the school is that, it's always been a school of innovation. It's been a school district that, takes chances, like with laptops, with internship programs, or, having beehives in the school, whatever it might be. That's great. When it comes to something where it's at the end of the year, and I wouldn't want to be the first one to go ahead and try the 3-foot rule and kind of see what happens. I'd rather wait for the 10 days. It doesn't really make sense. I'd rather spend time over the summer, look at what the camps are doing, what other programs are doing over the summer, see how the infection, see how the rate goes, because at the end of the day, we're starting to release a lot of restrictions. I'd probably want to see what happens first before I would consider bringing the kids back into one environment, the same classroom type of stuff. So that's what I would just say. It's just that, keep watch the data. Don't be the first one in to prove a point. Remember, the safety is the key thing. And I know there'll be a lot of parents who want the kids in school, and I get that. That's what everybody wants, is kids in school. That's the best environment for them. But again, I think when restrictions get changed, take the time to look at the data before rushing in and see what you can learn from what other schools have done, what worked, what didn't work. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for calling.
I have another phone number. It's 6969. Last 4 digits.
Phone number ending in 6969.
Do I do something to unmute?
Yeah, if you could hit *9 on your phone, then we can hear you.
Nothing.
*9.
Turn on to raise your hand.
Oh,
Yeah.
to
Somehow they're on
unmute.
on that phone.
Yeah, it's not coming.
If you could try to unmute your phone.
All right, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
All right, it was actually *6. Okay, sorry, I had to wait for the operator. This is Daniel Wilmer. I'm in Montvale. So I would just start by saying I recognize that this is a difficult conversation, not only because of the timing and the virus, but also logistically. But I would say the fact that this is mid-May and we're only now having this conversation as a community shows that our priorities are completely out of line. Other local schools have been open for at least a month or longer. And, it may be 10 days, it may be 19 days, but it's still needing to be in school for learning. I would say, through this year, we've really been focused on the wrong things, names, mascots, and now we're talking about trips and proms. What I would say is our focus needs to be on these kids' education and mitigating the learning loss that they've had over the last year plus. So I would really just ask that the board and the administrators focus on the priorities and get these kids back in school. Thank you.
Thank you for the call.
That's it.
Okay, we will now conclude the comments from the public section. We have Aria with us tonight. She was not with
another
us.
hand.
Oh, we have another. Okay.
Oh, no, it was lowered.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Hand.
I'm really excited to recognize Aria and her accomplishment with the Girl Scout Gold Award.
Thank you so much.
It's a really wonderful thing. Do you want to take just a quick minute and share with us what your Gold Award was about and the very important message that you'd like to share with the community?
Yeah, I can. This kind of caught me off guard, but thank you. Yeah. So for my Gold Award, I conducted a lot of presentations relating to vaping awareness and prevention across Bergen County. So I did presentations in Pascack Hills and Fieldstone Middle School, and I reached a lot of students there. I think it was 9th and 11th graders, and then the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in Fieldstone. And then I did a bunch of other schools across Bergen County and reached out like 2,000 people in total, which was really awesome. Of course, some of those were pre-recorded because I can't, I'm a student, so I don't have time to do like 40 presentations. But I was really glad to have made an impact on that. It's been something I've been involved in just in general, like vaping prevention for about 2 years now. So picking it up as my Gold Award has been really meaningful to me. And, you know, I made a video, did some other fun stuff to make an impact.
Great. I just wanted to recognize you. You were on the front page of the Pascack Press. And
thank you so much.
Thank you. Very good. So is there any great, exciting news that anyone wants to share before we end our meeting today? The bees are doing good?
The bees are buzzing. And Mr. Sherman was behind the bee suit, and you were one with the bees, right?
The exclusive bee segment on PVT.
All right.
There we go.
So for those of you at home who couldn't hear that, tomorrow TV turns into BV.
Oh, jeez.
Where they're behind the scenes buzzing with the insects. So tune in.
There we go. I want to really thank the public. I want to thank the administration, the board members. This has been a very difficult decision. It's been emotionally charged on a lot of different ways. I am really excited about what we're going to do in the fall. And I just really look forward to every single day of a great learning experience that I think we provide our students at the high schools. And again, want to thank everyone for their contribution, for their conversations around this topic, and I really appreciate that. So with that being said, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
By acclamation, we are adjourned.
Good night.
Thank you.